evening, everyone. I'm Takia Dupree, and I'm here to talk to you about the stages of schizophrenia. Psychological disorders are very scary and serious situations for the person with the disorder and their loved ones. Do you know anyone who suffers from a psychological disorder? How does being around them make you feel? Schizophrenia is a disorder that, if not treated properly, can be crippling for the person suffering from it. First, let's examine the symptoms of schizophrenia. According to Johnson, Calderon, et al., in an article entitled Spatiotemporal Dynamics of Resting State, Brain Networks Improve Single Subject Prediction of Schizophrenia Diagnosis. Schizophrenia can be diagnosed by comparing both the temporal and spatial dynamics of a schizophrenia patient to a control group. Classifiers trained on functional connectivity dynamics mapped over both space and time predicted diagnostic status with an accuracy exceeding 91%. This information shows that comparing the two dynamics mentioned in the article above can correctly diagnose schizophrenia in patients, allowing them to get the proper assistance they need, like counseling and medication. In an article entitled Salience Default Mode Functional Network Connectivity Linked to Positive and Negative Symptoms of Schizophrenia by Ford, Hare, et al., the symptoms of schizophrenia include hallucinations, disorganized thoughts, and psychomotor poverty. An abnormal communication between the salience network and the default mode network. That disconnect causes the symptoms of schizophrenia listed earlier. Knowing this information tells experimenters and psychologists what part of the brain to target when trying to provide the patient with help. Next, I will tell you what it's like living with schizophrenia. According to Echard Intiker et al., in an article titled Effects of Schizophrenia, having schizophrenia means that some tasks are harder than others because of effects of the disorder. People diagnosed with schizophrenia have longer response times, general performance impairments, and deficiencies in anti-saccade spatial accuracy. The effects of having this disorder puts the patients at somewhat of a disadvantage for their way of life. In an article entitled Spatiotemporal Dynamics of Resting State, Brain Networks Improve Single Subject Prediction of Schizophrenia Diagnosis by Johnson, Calderon, et al., parts of your brain don't properly communicate with each other when you have schizophrenia. Temporal and spatial dynamics are as tell-all for the diagnosis of schizophrenia. Experimenters are able to see the disconnect of the two dynamics in schizophrenia patients when compared to a control group. Finally, it is possible to manage schizophrenia. According to Tappington, Jin, et al., in an article entitled Systematic Review of Health Method of Health Economic Models Assessing Antipsychotic Medication for Schizophrenia, antipsychotics are beneficial to patients with schizophrenia. Antipsychotic medications have been the main way to treat schizophrenia since the 1950s. These medications can be used in assisting to treat fits of psychotic breaks and can also be used to prevent psychotic breaks in the future. In an article entitled Salience Default Mode, Functional Network Connectivity Linked to Positive and Negative Symptoms of Schizophrenia by Ford, Hare, et al., antipsychotic medication can work on slightly restoring this communication for the patient to somewhat manage their disorder. Symptoms caused by abnormal functional communications between the salience network and default mode network. With these two networks more frequently communicating with each other, it will give the patient the opportunity to properly process stimuli. In summary, having a psychological disorder like schizophrenia can make a person's life hard for lack of being able to do basic tasks. However, although at a disadvantage, it isn't completely impossible to live a good life. Something important to remember when dealing with schizophrenia patients is how important it is to listen to your doctor and take the medication that you've been prescribed all day, every day, and on time.